Today I want to speak about the power of our thoughts and the influence they have on us and our speaking, our actions, and our whole world and everything around us. And when we see visually how it all connects, we may want to become more aware of our thinking, speaking, and acting.
Let's say this guy here is us, incarnated on planet Earth. The way we perceive the physical world around us is via our 5 senses, which are seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. But there are 5 other components with which we work day in and day out. They are the content of our feeling, sensing, thinking, speaking, and acting. Feeling and sensing are not really specific to us, they aren't tangible. Only when they form into thought pictures do they become real and tangible for us. Most of us are not aware that we human beings live in pictures. All the behavior patterns of every person consist of countless picture sequences. We could say that they consist of a film that we reel over and over again through our mind and increasingly activate by adding new picture sequences. Where do these pictures come from? They come mainly from our personal past, our memory, like what we experienced, what we heard in conversations, what we saw or read, and many other sources, like what we consume, acquire, or purchase, and also from our desires. Basically, we are all film producers because everything we think is in pictures. If you doubt it, try to slow down your thinking and you will see the images in your mind. Why is that so important in our daily life? It means that every person is acting on his very personal pictures, his film that he has in his head, and not on the basis of reality. 2 people look at the same event and both are having a totally different experience because they see something completely different according to their personal film reel. You find more about it in my video, The Law of Projection. This fact is so very potent because the one thing we are all doing unceasingly is thinking. We think and think and think all day long. Thousands of different thoughts. That's a lot. And most of our thoughts are not necessarily happy thoughts. On the contrary, they are stuff or issues about our past and imagined future. We worry, we fear, we brood, we hate, we envy, we reject without realizing that every thought is energy and presses to be actualized. And all these negative thoughts have a powerful effect on our nervous and immune system. Scientists say that illnesses always develop through the interaction of nervous, genetic, immunology, and psychological factors. And our thoughts and emotions connected with them are the strongest creative force. For instance, a positive example is the famous placebo effect, where just the thought and the idea that a medication will heal us or relieve pain can initiate the healing process. Therefore, every time the contents of our feelings, sensations, thoughts, words, and actions are not in correspondence with the harmony of life or love, they can be very destructive and ultimately can make our body sick. But they can do much more than that. The spiritual world reminds us that we are all senders and receivers. We are continuously sending out vibrations of what we sense, feel, think, speak, and do. People who can read auras are very familiar with this. Thoughts, as well as words and actions, are energy complexes that we project into the world around us. And if these thoughts, words, and actions are negative, like against other people, they then become like projectiles that we fire day in and day out and that become our weapon arsenal. When we may hit others with these thoughts, words, or actions, they can stimulate them to think the same or similar destructive or negative thoughts. And it is important to remember that when our negative thought rocket strikes another person, the majority of the swirling mass, the splinters, comes back to us, the sender, the emitter. We always reap what we sow. The consequences can be blows of fate, hardships, worries, accidents, illness, and sometimes premature death. Everything is based on sending and receiving and cause and effect. So, with any negative thoughts, words, and actions, we basically poison our environment and ourselves. Strictly speaking, we are committing a very slow suicide. I go deeper into this in my video Thoughts Are Alive. But that is not all. It can even have a much bigger impact. If I think negatively about this person here, she may pick up that thought projectile and then starts thinking badly about others and sends out her thought projectiles. And so it goes on and on. Together, we are creating a dark cloud of very negative energy that adds to the already existing dark thought blankets or meandering thought complexes in the atmosphere which covers our Earth. They are nothing but loaded negative energy patterns. They are the result of all the negativity oozed out by nearly 8 billion people around the globe. As we have heard, all thoughts press to be actualized. We can also say manifested. Eventually, these energetically negative radiation patterns will discharge, and the result can be conflicts, wars, climate catastrophes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and much more. Yes, it is quite possible that our thought projectiles can create aggression, brutality, and violence and actually inspire people to produce combat weapons and then deploy them to use them against others in war. How can we change that? The good news is that the 5 components of our feeling, sensing, thinking, speaking, and acting can also be positive, particularly when they are applied according to the eternal law of love and harmony. This would be the path to higher ethics and morals, back to the life in the absolute reality. Therefore, it is so important for us to become aware when our feeling, sensing, thinking, speaking, and acting is becoming negative, selfish, and destructive against people, animals, and nature. We have to stop them, look at them, question them, and transform them into light-filled forces before they become war projectiles and hit others. How do we do that? By changing them into loving, peace-loving feelings, sensations, and thoughts, and honest, upright words, by being guided by the golden rule of life. Do to others as you would have them do to you, or spoken differently, do not do to others what you don't want to have done to you. It always comes back to the golden rule.
Or more simply said, never send out energy you don't want back in return. There is so much more on this topic that I couldn't include in this short video. I just wanted to pique your interest. Most of the material for this video comes from the book, The Speaking All Unity. And I will put a link to this book beneath this video. It has been great having been with you today, and let's meet again in another video.